Hey guys, welcome back to Vince Fail Custom. So this is an old Sideshow Collectibles Master Chief statue, and we're going to sort of secure the left arm on him. So it's kind of hard to see in the picture because I want to be able to show the key area. He sort of is turned, his torso's kind of turned this way. And the way Sideshow did this item, or the factory, I'm not really sure. I think it's pretty old. There should have been magnets here, but they just put a peg. And what happens is when you put this arm in here, hopefully I can get to see, it kind of like slides out, it doesn't stay in. So what happens is this peg system in here, whichever they did, whether this is just resin or if it's like a plastic tube that just lost its like suction cup, it's not working anymore. So we're going to do a very simple mod, but it's still a little bit tricky in the sense that you don't want to destroy the item, you don't want to break anything, you want to make sure everything is lined up correctly. So up at this top corner over here, with this top corner over here, I have magnets. You can get these, online, N52 magnets. So I'm going to add a magnet here, and we're going to add a magnet here, so this arm doesn't slide out. And I think there is another left arm in here as well. So we're going to do both arms just to be on the safe side. Now the right arms is actually fine because he is turned this way, and these arms going there, and it's fine. But I'm going to double check all four arms because he has two sets of arms. So I'm going to double check all of them as we go. But I'm going to make sure that this left arm goes in there pretty well. Now, normally what I would do is if this is like a custom, a kit or something, I would take this rod out and I would take that out in there. But I'm not sure if this is hollow in here. So I got to be a little bit careful because if this is hollow or anything going on in here and I Dremel this area here, I might have to fill that in. So I'm a little bit worried about, taking all this rods out. Sometimes these rods only go like into the key, but you never know if it actually went in further. So it's okay to keep the rod and just add a magnet. Now I might add smaller magnets. I'm not really sure. I'm going to go into the garage. I'm going to wrap them up with a towel and everything. I'm going to Dremel out this area first just to see how this is looking. And then I'm going to get this magnet in here first. It's easier to get this one in first and then work out the two left arms afterwards. Trying to do the arms, two different sets of magnets first and then trying to line it up there is a problem. It's always better to do this part first and then this part with two arms. So what I need to do is I sort of got to take the magnet, as you can see, and sort of kind of go in there. Now these magnets are really strong. These are a little bit thicker. So they pull apart pretty hard. So I only have a size of these left. I'm going to look through and see if maybe the other ones would be better. I do have thinner ones here. So I think the stronger ones might be better, only because he is kind of leaning this way. And I always like to make sure that I go above and beyond. The other thing too is, though, you don't want to do super strong heavy duty magnets where you put this in there and you can never pull it out either. So you need something just to be able to hold the arm in there pretty well, and something that is not going to go down the line and fall off again. So let's get in the garage. Let's get this magnet situated on here first, so this way I can let this cure up for the day. Tomorrow I can worry about the other two magnets, get those lined up, and then see how this side is looking. I'm going to double check on the right arms just in case before I go in the garage, but I think those arms and those keys are pretty well for now. But this is something that if you guys are ever have an item like an old item like this with just a peg and you're having issues, just a simple magnet system in there would be better. I mean, if this is like a super grail and you want to keep it forever and you want it to make sure it's done, then you can actually go in here and take all this stuff. But I'm just doing a simple mod for somebody where just adding a magnet and keeping this in there for good. So let me get all that situated. We'll come back and I'll kind of show you with the eaves, get that situated, and go from Okay, so I just got out of the garage and I Dremeled up a hole over there. So you can see there's a little bit of a hollow part up there. It's kind of hard to see maybe from this angle, but it's over there at the right corner. So I figured this was hollow just by lifting him up. I kind of knew it. But what I did is I kept Dremeling out just enough to make sure that the magnet will go in there and it'll stay. Sometimes with these holes, you don't have to make the magnet completely perfect. It's better to Dremel around it so the magnet is semi-loose. So when you push the A's in there or glue, it squeezes around the magnet and it bonds pretty well. The other thing too is you always make sure that whatever you push in here, that the magnet sits below the very edge of the, flush of the level. Because if the magnet is sticking up a little bit too much and then you push it in there, what will happen is when you go to put the arm in there or whatever, the magnet is pushing the item out. So it's always better to have the magnet down as best as possible. Now, I know this is not completely perfect in the sense where the magnet is going to be here and the magnet in the arm is going to be completely touching and perfect. But as long as these magnets are strong enough, and even if they're just a little bit separated, just a little bit, it still will keep it in place. So that's a good thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some A's right now. I'm going to push it in there. I'm going to mix up enough A's where I squeeze it in there. It goes into that little hollow part and it'll kind of like lock it into place pretty well. Now the reason why I'm going to be using A's is because it's softer and it'll squeeze a little bit better. Magnet Sculpt is better if I was going to do a bigger magnet in the center. But because Magnet Sculpt is so tough, sometimes it doesn't squeeze to some of these areas I want it to. But the A's will do better. And once the A's cures up tonight and tomorrow when I start working on the other part, it'll stay in there pretty well. So it's a smaller magnet and it works. So let me just mix that up. It's going to be some red A's. It'll look a little bit messy in there. I'll clean it up best as I can. But as long as it's hitting, it'll be fine. You know, sometimes when you try to, you know, paint this stuff with black paint and you put stuff in there, it's just going to scrape up anyway. I always say that as long as it's hidden, you don't see it. It doesn't matter if the inside's messy. So let me get that mixed up and we'll get this going. Alright, so it's the next day, and what I did is I went in the garage and I dremelled out a hole there, and made sure the magnets fit. I mixed up some Aves next to me, fresh Aves, and I have my magnets, and I also went and I marked the correct spot with a little bit of a marker. So this way, the marker side is actually what goes into the item. So this way, you don't accidentally, you always got to make sure you get the right negative and positive together and all that stuff. Otherwise, if you put it in wrong and you try to put in the arm pops out and it could break, and or you have to Dremel this all out and it'd be a mess. So always make sure and double check your mark. So both magnets, I have them marked. They are sitting next to each other right here, so I got to make sure they don't connect. So I'm just going to throw in some of the fresh Aves in here and here, make it as flush as possible, let it cure up for the day. Sand it down, test it tomorrow, and then the mod should be pretty much ready to go. Like I said, we're only going to be doing the left arm. The right arm is working out well, but down the line, you know, if you have this statue or, you know, it starts to happen to you, or even another statue that has pegs and no magnets, this is a simple way of actually securing your item. So we will test tomorrow after everything is cured up, making sure it all is flush and it locks in pretty well, so there's no issues. And as long as there's no issues and everything, we're pretty much ready to go. So let's get these magnets in and see what happens tomorrow. Okay, it is the next day. And as you can see, hold these two arms up so you guys can check it out. You can both see that the magnets are in there pretty well. Even though the magnet is semi-hitting, I'm going to do a little sanding on these, but it really doesn't need to, but I'll just do a little bit of sanding to make it flush. It's not going to look pretty, but it's going to be hidden now and it's going to be secured. So what we'll do is we'll put both arms in there just to double check before I do any sanding. So as long as you line up that peg in there, which I got to see it at the right angle, that arm goes in there pretty well, and it's not falling out, it's not staying. It twists a little bit because the key is not actually a flush key with the keyhole. Nothing I can do with that on my end without rebuilding and going crazy, but there's always a downside of trying to fix the key with this arm, and then the other arm is not lining up correctly with that key. So it's better just to add the magnets and be done with it. So that arm goes in there pretty well. And then this arm, we'll double check this just to make sure that arm goes in there pretty well. So both arms are going in there well, they're not coming out, it stays in there, and it's a simple mod. So if you guys have any basic old statues out there with pegs and you're worried about them popping out, just adding a little magnet on both sides with some Aves or even glue if you don't have Aves can really make your item stay a little bit stronger and not fall out. So even though, like I said, you can see there's a little bit of give on here with the arms, that is because it's an old statue, the keys are not super flush, but all in all, it works out pretty well. So I just got to do a little sanding There's no sense of sitting there painting it and cleaning it up because you're not going to see it anyway. As long as you know that there's magnets in there and not popping out, it stays pretty well. So both arms are good. So let me know what you guys think. Simple mod. Make sure you guys get N52 magnets, not 50 and not 40s. N52 is the strongest magnet out there for these types of items. So you can order them on eBay. You can go to hobby stores and stuff. It's the best magnets to get. And like I said, you just dremel a little hole, you add some A's, glue, whatever, and you got yourself a good magnetized item. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.